Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. It's so good to have you. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, Share with Getty. Thank you. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for coming. Hey, say hi to my people.
Yo, what's poppin'?
This is my son.
Hello.
Hey.
How are you?
Tell them to subscribe.
Subscribe, like, and subscribe.
Yes.
Are you live?
Nah.
Oh, okay.
So we are here in Perimeter, Dunwoody area. We just came from, where did we go? We went to so many places. And we are here with family that traveled all the way from South Africa. Right there. Right? From Rayban. From Rayban.
No, next time what I'll do is I'll buy things online before I come.
Then you just pick them out. Yeah. Say hi to my subscriber. Tell them to subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Hi guys, meet our Andy. She just came from South Africa.
I'm visiting and I'm having a ball.
And we are having fun. And thanks to her, today we went to see a very, very, very important place. Yes. We live here, but we had never had a chance to go to Martin Luther King. So today we did, and it was really touching to be at that place. See where Dr. Coretta Scott King and Reverend Martin Luther King are buried, are laying in resting in peace, and to be thankful for all the work that they have done for us. And now we are enjoying these freedoms. It was awesome. So we are going to have dinner at Maggiano in Dunwoody, Georgia. So this is where we are going. We are going to tour.
Is anybody a first timer here in Atlanta?
No, not first time.
Okay. Oh, I can't tell too many lies. I can't tell you guys. All you guys can keep it straight here. That's good.
First time on this bus.
Welcome and welcome back to Atlanta, y'all. We're starting off with one of our favorite neighborhoods. This is downtown Atlanta. Now, while we're together, there are over 30 of us on this trolley. So
we are going to be on the trolley for most of the 90 minutes. Yeah, you guys are fine. It's just a little.
So we're going to be on this trolley for more than 90 minutes, just touring the city of Atlanta. So let's go.
Our first little bit of Olympics history. Atlanta hosted the 1996 Summer Olympics. You can see those rings at the end of the walkway there. There's a Georgia icon you can't see on the other side of those rings. The trees are keeping you from seeing it, and that would be a Waffle House. Waffle House is a Georgia icon. It starts here in Atlanta, Georgia, and there is a Waffle House every 2 miles. So you guys are in luck if you like your hash brown smothered and covered. Now, if you want to get a great view of Centennial Olympic Park, make your way to the Ferris wheel. That's called Skyview. Skyview actually was built in Paris, France, where the Olympics were just held. It was in Pensacola, Florida, before we got it in 2014. And we're going to have this Ferris wheel for a lot longer. I don't know if y'all can see it, but there's a black gondola at the, it's the only one you can see it. Usually it's at the top. It's a VIP booth because there's Ferrari leather on the inside, so Italian luxury is great for everyone. But this is not going to be a VIP for everyone because it's the only gondola that has a clear floor. So if you're afraid of heights, you definitely don't want to do the VIP booth. That swings around 20 stories, that's 200 feet. I don't know the meters because I'm American, but that's very far to look down if you're afraid of heights. They might even give you a box of chocolates and a champagne toast because it is used quite a bit for proposals and proposals. And they're going to charge you for all that VIP. Yeah, it's $15 a person for the regular ride. It's $50 per person for the VIP ride. But I don't know if you guys know this or not. Groupon still exists. Yeah, so Groupon, they actually usually on a regular basis will have a better rate for either of those gondolas for a quantity of 2 or 4 people. So definitely worth checking out if you want to save a few dollars. Now we're about to make a right. A lot of you have been here before, so you might be missing something from the front of this building as we make the right inside. Some very large red letters. Do you guys remember what those letters were? CNN is correct. It's not here anymore, y'all. It just moved out a couple months ago. For those of you who've never been to Atlanta, Ted Turner came up with the concept of a 24-hour news channel back in the 70s, and no one thought that would be successful for television. So in 1987, he moved the world headquarters of CNN into this massive khaki-colored complex to create a tour, so people could understand what a 24-hour news channel actually looks like. Kind of like Universal Studios, but less fun, unless you love the news. And it was our #1 attraction for the longest time, but they just moved out of this building, the whole thing, about 2 months ago.
Oh.
So there's nothing in here now. There's no tour for CNN, but CNN is still in Atlanta. The world headquarters just moved to their original location where the rest of their sister stations are located. So TBS, TNT, Cartoon Network, Adult Swim. CNN is about 2 miles away now at the Warner Media Studio lot with all their other sister stations. But no tour because it's pretty much just the accounting offices, and that's not fun for a lot of people, unless you really love paperwork. If you want to get a tour of CNN, New York City and Washington, D.C. is where most of the filming is done, and you can actually see what they do over there. We still have a lot of sports downtown though, and on our right-hand side, if you're super OG, this was the Omni Center. If you're a little bit OG, it was the Phillips Arena. It has been State Farm Arena since 2018. This is where the Hawks play. That's our NBA team. That's basketball. And in addition to our Hawks here, we get a lot of great live musicians happening here at State Farm. So if you're a fan of music, definitely keep your eyes peeled on their schedule. And if you're a fan of basketball, you're about to see Dominique Wilkins as a statue just outside. Right over there, best basketball player of all time for the Hawks. Now for music, just in the last year, I'm a big music fan myself, we've seen some great musicians come through here. We've seen the Eagles do their farewell tour. Missy Elliott was here doing her world tour with Ciara, Timba, and Busta. Janet Jackson was here the same week that the Hawks did their playoffs, and they actually had to postpone her show one day. And let me tell you what, that was a crazy weekend, because when Janet was here and the playoffs were here, Beyonce was over there. So it was Beyonce for 3 days, Janet Jackson in the playoffs over here, and before Beyonce showed up, it was Taylor Swift for 3 days. So you know that week was a crazy week over here. That's Mercedes-Benz Stadium up ahead of you. And that houses 2 pro teams. We have the Atlanta Falcons for the NFL for American football, and other people call it football around the world. We call it soccer. For MLS, we have Atlanta United, and they have a game tonight. So if you're a soccer fan, it's possible you might be able to get tickets. I saw they were sold out online. But keep your eyes to the front of the stadium there. Once we get past the tree line, you should start seeing a massive statue of a steel bird. That is for the Falcons, of course. And you might notice it's wearing a scarf. It's a very fashionable bird. Anytime there's a soccer game here, they'll hang a scarf around the Falcon's neck, and it has a different scarf for every occasion and holiday. And if you are lucky enough to get close to that Falcon, go ahead and wave hi. Those eyeballs are facial recognition cameras. Big Falcon is watching you. Go ahead and say hi to the security team when you go by. Now, this is one of the most sustainable sporting arenas in the world. There are over 4,000 solar panels that power the whole thing up and feed into the grid. It can take in over 2 million gallons of rainwater, which it uses all throughout the stadium. And it is a dome. It opens up in just 8 minutes. If the dome is open while it's raining like today, that's totally okay. The field is actually built to take that rainwater in and bring it down to the storage area before it gets filtered. So the field will never flood. There's so many LED screens inside. If you were to wrap them around, that wrap around the mezzanines and along the pillars, if you were to stack them on top of each other, it would be higher than the Eiffel Tower. And 100% Beyonce and Taylor Swift took advantage of all those LED screens, for sure. Yeah. Now, I will get into the construction a little bit later on, but there's a lot of history all around us and underneath us, and a little hard to see from here, but just behind the stadium, if you can make out that red brick building and that steeple poking out from the trees, that is some historic Black colleges and universities. We are a college city. We have 12 colleges in Atlanta, but 7 of them are HBCUs. So Morehouse and Spelman are just over there, and that steeple is Morris Brown, which was our first HBCU here in Atlanta. But as we make a left and we go over this bridge here, what's underneath us is how Atlanta gets their start as a city, and that would be the railroad tracks. So we're going to go all the way back to our beginning. Back in the 1830s, in the very early 1830s, every single railroad from the north, south, east, and west terminated in this area. So our first nickname in the early 1830s is Terminus. Did anybody see The Walking Dead? Yeah. Yeah? So the zombies were looking for Terminus. I don't know if you recall. I know it's been a while since Walking Dead's been on air. But it was filmed all around here, so that was a throwback to being filmed in Atlanta. It was actually filmed underneath us as well. You're about to see the railroads once we get through this construction. But I want you guys to look to your left as I continue the rest of this story, because going across State Park Marina, there's something pretty cool. Look past the cranes. Look over at the windows over there. There's some light gray steel beams that are going across those windows. Looks like they're holding up an awning, but it actually spells something out. Can you all see it yet?
Atlanta.
Atlanta.
Yeah.
It takes a minute.
Yeah.
I'll give you a chance. That name comes from these very railroads. So Terminus wasn't our only name. We had several names in our past. Yeah, see, it's a slow roll. It takes a minute. Early 1830s is Terminus. A little later in the 1830s, a guy named John Thrasher is building up around those railroads. So our next name is Thrasherville. We had a hockey team called the Thrashers. You know you're a diehard if you knew about that one, because they didn't last that long. In the early 1840s, we get our first official name. It's time to put us on the map. The governor decides he wants to rename the area for his daughter, though. So our first official name in the early 1840s is Marthasville. Marthasville did not last that long either. If you haven't heard of it, it's totally okay. Marthasville is a very long name to have to handwrite over and over again. And we were such a busy train area, our train people actually protested to have our name changed. And in 1847, our name is coming from the largest rail in the area. We're actually named after the Western and Atlantic Railway. So that's what Atlanta is short for, the Western and Atlantic Railway. Although we keep shortening it, right? We keep making it easier to write. So 1847, we're Atlanta. Our airport code is the same as our nickname. What is that? What's our airport code? What's our nickname?
ATL.
ATL, that's right. And it gets even shorter because when you're here, you're in the A, that's right. Welcome to the A. That's as short as it gets. That's easy to remember, right? You guys remember the A? All right, let's talk about the future stuff. We just went through a huge construction set that you can see. What you can't see is back behind these federal buildings here. There's about 85 buildings that have been restored back behind this building, and I'll show you when you can see them. In conjunction with that restoration project, this is about to be an entire wall of mixed-use high-rises, condos, apartments, and entertainment. For those of you who haven't been here, this was just one big open-air parking lot, so we're not losing a lot over here except for some parking spaces. But this whole thing is called Centennial Yards in the Gulch. This has been underway for the better part of a decade. And something very big is happening in 2026 at Mercedes-Benz, which has hurried all of these projects along. And if you're a soccer fan, you know it's the World Cup. FIFA is taking a tour of North America. There's going to be games all over Mexico, the United States, and Canada. We're going to see 8 games in a semifinal over at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So last summer it was chaotic because of the concerts and the NBA playoffs, but I guarantee it's going to be a lot more chaos for the World Cup over here. Yeah, so they're going to make sure all of this is finished before any of that goes down. It's not happening because of the World Cup, but it is coincidentally. Now, Atlanta was completely renovated a couple times over. The downtown area was completely renovated purposely for the Olympics. That was on purpose. This is just coincidental. But long before that, we had to completely rebuild the city because of the Civil War. So just to reprise some of your history memories, 1864 and 1865 is the Battle of Atlanta during the Civil War. 80% of the city burns down. It's pretty much just religious buildings and cemeteries that are left. So we really did have to grow up the entire city. And the downtown neighborhoods that we're exploring right now were the first to see that economic growth. So the buildings you can't see, and I'll show you them later, are like the general stores from that time frame. Think Main Street USA vibes. And then as we move forward, it's more of the financial district, taller buildings. And our oldest architecture downtown ranges from around the 1880s to the early 1900s. But it is a mix of new and old. We just passed by the Margaritaville Hotel that opened up 2 years ago. And right next to that is my favorite historic building downtown. This red brick building on your left-hand side was a church from 1910 until the 1980s. It's known as the Tabernacle today, and it's been a live music venue ever since the early 2000s. In my opinion, one of the best places to see a show in the city. You agree? Yes. She's agreeing with me, so you know it's good. Some people agree with us, though. It's pretty iconic. They filmed inside. That's how great this place is. So if you're a fan of Dave Chappelle, he did a Netflix special here, and The Daily Show filmed for an entire week here right before Trevor Noah retired. So that's a few things I've mentioned that have filmed in Atlanta. Did you guys know you're in Hollywood? Y'all are in Hollywood, y'all. We do more filming than anywhere else in the world. Just in the city of Atlanta alone, we do 50 to 60 productions, but that's not all that happens in Georgia. It happens all over the state. But downtown, one of our most filmed in areas, so I'm going to show you some movie sets. Bad Boys just came out in the new film. They filmed right here. You won't believe it right now, but last spring, this looked like Miami, Florida, when they were filming here. Yeah, I know. It was some dumpsters and some palm trees, and it looked just like Little Havana. Superheroes of all kinds have been in Atlanta. Shazam, the superhero Shazam, they used these two blocks in both of the movies and turned it into Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Shazam, the TV show, is also filmed here. Beat Shazam is also filmed here. Now, as a college city, our largest college is Georgia State University, which is their theater to our right. And they have about 50,000 students annually. Most of Georgia State is downtown. But on the other side of their theater, down this road, are the former sets for The Walking Dead, both Black Panthers, several of the Hunger Games, and Avengers Infinity Wars. That's just in a few blocks going in this direction. When we get past the FedEx and the Starbucks on our left here, if you look up above those trees on the left, you will see a tall cream-colored marble high-rise, which happens to be the very first offices for Coca-Cola. It dates back to 1906. You'll see it once you get past the Starbucks on the left. That was transformed into a hotel back in 2019. It's called the Candler Hotel, and Stranger Things built inside the hotel, restaurant, and lobby. Did anybody see Baby Driver? Yeah. Gosh, for some reason a lot of people haven't seen it. It's a good movie, isn't it? I don't know why people didn't like it. Okay, yeah, sorry. Maybe that's why a lot of people haven't seen it. But if you did like it, if you did see it, it was filmed all over Atlanta. And the cafe that's right next to the Candler Hotel, it's called the Rising Roll. That was a bank they robbed in Baby Driver. Now, the cream-colored marble high-rise, again, first offices for Coke, now a hotel. The Stranger Things filmed inside. And if you look to your right over here, you'll see the Broad Street Boardwalk that gives you access to all those beautiful historic buildings they've restored, filled with shops and restaurants. And our Flatiron building welcomes you into that boardwalk. This is our oldest high-rise. It dates back to 1897. Anybody familiar with the New York Flatiron building in New York City? Yeah? Ours was first. We built ours first. However, TV and film have made you believe this entire area is New York time and time again. Who saw Avengers Infinity Wars? Anybody? A couple people maybe? Alright, so there's an epic battle scene in Avengers where Iron Man is grabbed onto by the bad guys. He's thrown through the Flatiron building in New York City and into a park. It was that building and that park. That says ATL. I don't know how you missed it. But if you're a fan of Denzel Washington, they made you believe that this was Central Park in flight. There's an epic fist fight that takes place during flight, and this is where that was filmed. That's a lot smaller than Central Park if you've never been to New York. On the other side of Woodruff Park, this is Georgia State University, and on our right-hand side, all of our historic buildings are filled with shops and restaurants. And then that brings us into the underground. I know a lot of you know what this is, but this too is under renovation. Let's get into the history though. A few of you have no idea what we're talking about. We're on the second level of the city here. Our original street level is underneath us. We had to build up over ourselves because of the trains. And that happened in the 1930s. So back in the 1930s, on our original street level down beneath us, we had 5 train lines coming to a conclusion over here, and 100 trains a day were using that same original surface street beneath us, same as cars and people. That's dangerous. So in the 1930s, we had to build up over ourselves to make it safe. At first it was just sidewalks for the pedestrians, and eventually this entire level is paved over. Now the trains were down beneath us and the cars and people were on top, and everyone was safe. That's the 1930s. In the 1960s, 2 Georgia Tech graduates rediscovered all of those closed up shops beneath us that were all preserved, and they decided to turn this area into what you see now. A 2-story, 5-block radius entertainment complex known as Underground Atlanta. And that's all this has been since the 60s. Now the trains are still beneath us. That's called MARTA today, that's public transit. And the MARTA station across the plaza is called 5 Points Station because of the 5 train lines it used to conclude here. The underground is open. They've already restored those buildings, everything down there, those original shops and sidewalks are available for you to check out. And I'm not sure if it started just yet, I believe it has, but there will be a massive pop-up Halloween haunted bar experience going down in the underground this Halloween season. But there's always some sort of immersive art event, music event, and local businesses rotating down beneath us. The top parts are getting a little slow for renovation, but they would like to turn it into a community space for the first time since the 1930s. We'll see affordable housing, student housing, and pop-up shops for small businesses.
I see a lot of artwork on the buildings. Is this area geared for just that?
No, we do have a really amazing street art scene here, and a lot of it is sanctioned these days. A lot of it is permission or they're paid to paint, but you'll find that all over the city. There's a great resource if you want to find out where all the pockets of murals are. It's called streetartmap.org, one word, and that's going to give you 7 self-guided tours of all of the art around the city, whether it's mural work or graffiti or structures and sculptures. And a lot of that's going to be along the Atlanta Beltline, which we'll talk about as we go further. But some of those murals in the underground are famous artists. Now, if you are a fan of Stranger Things, I think I saw a few people get excited when I told you that was filmed at the hotel. The underground is the Upside Down, so you guys may want to get down there. And their Instagram and website are the best place to do that. But we've wandered over to the Capitol. We have been the capital of Georgia since just after the Civil War. That's our Capitol building on the left-hand side with the scaffolding on it. That was built in 1888, and it's hard to see because of the scaffolding, but there is real gold on that dome underneath. If you guys look to your right real quick, we're going to go by Atlanta City Hall, but you're going to be more excited to find out that this building is also Gotham City Hall, because Batman is filmed here. Yeah, you can see Gotham City Hall on this one pretty easily. Yeah, you don't need to put any facade and paint on that one. Our Capitol was modeled after Washington, D.C.'s Capitol building, and it's been used as Washington, D.C. in TV and film. If you're a fan of Tyler Perry, maybe you've seen The Oval. That's where they filmed this. He has his own replica now. He doesn't need our replica. And if you have Hulu, a more recent show that's filmed here at the Capitol is Class of '09. Now, this is a museum, so if you're here on Tuesdays and Fridays, it is a Georgia History Museum. You can learn about why there's gold on the dome, which is the gold rush we had here in 1828. And there's a bunch of people that have statues on the left-hand side. I don't know if you saw them or not, but those are all former elected officials of Georgia. You can learn about them as well. But if you want to find a statue of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., you're going to have to make your own trip back to the Capitol because we can't see it from the trolley. It's just on the other side of the Capitol building. But once you make it over there, you can't miss it. It's massive. And we added it in 2017, which is the same year that we turned Dr. King's childhood neighborhood into a national park. And we actually get to stop there. So we have a 10-minute stop at Dr. King's Memorial Site National Park. It's just enough time to say hello and pay our respects, and then we'll jump back into the trolley, and we'll wind up back downtown by 2:30. And everything we just saw was downtown Atlanta. It's a big neighborhood. We're going to see more of that. Once we make a left here, we're going to be heading east. And on our right-hand side, a little hard to see right now due to the trees, but that is where the opening ceremonies were for the 1996 Summer Olympics. What you can still see, once we get past the tree line over here, is the tower where the Flames stood for the duration of the Olympics and the finish line for the torch run. Now, there was a very famous boxer who carried the last torch in 1996. Does anybody remember who it was? It was Muhammad Ali, that's correct. So we're going to see the finish line that he went through, but the tower you're going to see is not what he walked up to light. We'll talk about that in a moment. Once the Olympics leaves this field, that same field is turned into Braves Stadium for our baseball team. It was called Turner Field. They played here for 2016. They wanted a new stadium, so they built that about a half hour away, and now this area has been taken over by Georgia State University. So there's the finish line for the torch run. There's the tower where the Flames stood. If you can see the parking deck over there, the opening ceremonies area was behind that parking deck. Muhammad Ali went through those 5 rings, but he was suffering from Parkinson's. In case you didn't see it back in 1996, we wouldn't have made him walk up all those stairs. In the opening ceremonies area, there was a cauldron that his daughter helped him up, and they lit that cauldron together, and it was an archer who took the flame from the cauldron and shot it to the top of the tower. So that's how it got up there, and it stayed up there for the duration of the Olympics. It's on YouTube if you didn't see it or you want to see it again. Definitely a really cool shot. And then that same field behind the deck, again, transformed into a baseball field, and now it's Georgia State football. But the arena, if you can see that to the right of the tower, is Georgia State basketball for men and women. And rallies that were held for both presidential nominees early on were in that building right there, in case you guys saw any of that. Now, the bridge over there is called Hank Aaron Way. That's how you get into this neighborhood called Summerhill. Hank Aaron played for the Braves. He was one of the best baseball players of all time. He actually beat Babe Ruth's home run count. So the Braves history is over there, the Olympics history is over there, and since Georgia State has taken over, it's become an up-and-coming neighborhood, so lots of cool cafes and restaurants over there as well. That's Summerhill. Once we go through the light here, you guys will get a great opportunity to see the 5 rings that is going across the bridge, so go ahead and look right, get that in your memories. And then maybe you can see the gold poking out from the scaffolding over there, but it's kind of a hazy day today. So we had a gold rush all the way back in 1828 in an area called Dahlonega, which is about an hour and a half to 2 hour drive here. And if you like breweries and vineyards, Dahlonega is going to be a great day trip for you up north. Now, I hope you all have lunch. Because if not, I'm about to make you hungry. We are a food city. We actually just got Michelin stars this year. It's the first year we got Michelins, and we should have had them a lot longer ago. I don't know if you know this, but Michelin exists to sell tires. That's the whole reason the Michelin book started, and we're a very car-centric city, so we should have had Michelin stars a lot longer ago. But we're not going to talk about Michelin stars. We're going to talk about barbecue, because Atlanta has all the barbecue. When I say all the barbecue, I don't know if you guys know this. Every country, every state, they all have their variations of barbecue. We have it all. We don't discriminate. We love barbecue. So I'm going to point out different variations of barbecue as we work our way around. I'll show you some other stuff too. But we have a ton of barbecue. The first one I'm going to show you is going to be Georgia-style barbecue. Now, I know we're in the state of Georgia, so that makes sense that we would have Georgia barbecue here. But it's personally one of my favorite barbecue spots in all of Atlanta. And here in Georgia, we favor pork. This particular place, the ribs fall right off the bone. It's been open for decades on decades on decades. All the menu items are going to be soul food menu items. And when you see this building, you might question me. You might say, I don't know about that, Shauna. That looks a little iffy, a little sussy. But I promise you, Daddy D's Barbecue Joint is one of the best places to get. So, when we go through the light here, on your left-hand side, if you can see the building that has all of the artwork on it across the street, that is Daddy D's Barbecue Joint. If you look around you, everything is restored and brand new, and they have been open in this same building for decades on decades on decades. There's a pig on the roof. That means they take it seriously. This is Daddy D's. This is where I bring my friends and family. I promise you some of the best barbecue in the city. Georgia-style barbecue. Now, up the way is Texas-style barbecue. That's going to be DOS. Texas is not a saucy barbecue culture. You're not going to find a lot of different sauces in Texas typically. They do favor beef. They like a dry rub as well. And this place over here is a bit controversial as a Texas-style barbecue joint because they have every sauce and then some. So if you like dipping sauces, DOS has the sauce. They also have live music, bocce ball, tetherball. If you want to get a little rowdy, that's DOS. Now right across the street, if you guys can see those brick gates on the left, they date back to 1850. This is called Oakland Cemetery. And if it was a nicer day right now, I would tell you to take a picnic in the cemetery because that's what we do here. I know that's weird, but this is a Victorian Park cemetery, and it was intentionally created to be a park space as well as a cemetery at the same time. But they stopped selling plots a long time ago, so you have to be rich and know people to be buried here. So we use it more like a park space. There's even some great restaurants right across the street. This one here is called 6 Feet Under, so that should be easy to remember. It's a seafood restaurant. The fishes are 6 feet under, but so are your neighbors. And there's a very famous neighbor on your left-hand side, which is Kenny Rogers. So if you want to find Kenny Rogers, remember in the restaurant 6 Feet Under, there's an entrance right across the street from it. But in order to be buried here in modern day, because that happened in March of 2020 when Kenny Rogers was buried here, you have to be like Kenny, as I said. You have to be rich and know people to be buried here. But it might shock some of you to learn that people get married here. People get married inside the cemetery. We have music festivals inside the cemetery. There's one coming up in October. It's called Tunes from the Tombs. And now Kenny Rogers is a part of that. There's a 5K that comes through here several times a year. It's called Run Like Hell because you're running through the cemetery. So they have a good sense of humor. Do you notice how big it was? Massive. It divides the city. On this side, after the Civil War, this neighborhood, which is called Grant Park, that's where the zoo is located, that would have been the upper middle class after the Civil War. That's what's on the other side of this great big wall. The mill workers, the poor folks after the Civil War. So right up ahead of us is called Cabbagetown. This is an old mill workers neighborhood. All of the 1 and 2 story shotgun houses here were built by the mill for their workers. And I want you to look down this road here, coming up on our right hand side. This is called Carroll Street. Look to your right, look down Carroll Street. That's a two-way street. We're not going down that street. But on the other side of Carroll Street is another wall. So this mill worker neighborhood has been surrounded by the cemetery since the beginning of the neighborhood, and on the other side it's surrounded by a railroad track and the wall that keeps you safe from the rail. So this neighborhood is sequestered still, even in modern day. But imagine not having a car and having to get in and out of the neighborhood. They pretty much didn't leave the neighborhood. And it's like that way today. But this is the mill here. At one point they employed 2,700 people. Initially their employees were Scottish and Irish. That's where they say the term Cabbagetown stems from. And now this is condos and apartments because of course it is. But nobody but mill workers lived there until the 70s. Now in modern day, it's a very different neighborhood. The train wall that blocks them in on the other side of the neighborhood has been turned into a massive art gallery. So this is another spot you might want to go check out. Since 2014, it is invite only, it is curated, it is the world's best artist, and it will not look like this. There are 2 tunnels you have to use to get in and out of the neighborhood and around the railroad tracks. These are permission spaces. Anybody can paint here. However, there are some famous writer names all along these walls. But the artwork you're going to find inside the neighborhood is gallery and museum level artwork. It's world-renowned artists, and if you follow anybody that does street art online, you're bound to recognize some of the names inside the neighborhood. That's Cabbagetown, right over there. Now you have to go through those 2 tunnels to get in and out of Cabbagetown, so you know when you're making it in and out of Cabbagetown. And your next road is this road right up ahead of us, which is called Edgewood. Edgewood is where the party's at. This is about 6 blocks of bars, restaurants, and nightclubs, and it starts with a restaurant to the right of us called Slutty Vegan. Slutty Vegan.
That's what we do.
Yes. They're all over the place, but there's one on this side of us. It's the black and yellow building. For those of you that don't know about Slutty Vegan, this is junk food for vegans.
Yes.
Bacon cheeseburgers, buffalo chicken cheese dip, chili cheese dogs, all plant-based. Every bit of it is plant-based. I'm an omnivore and it is good. Yeah, it's great.
Yes.
Right across from Slutty Vegan, if you guys look to your right, you can see it says church above these yellow doors. Church is a bar. You can tell your folks to go to church every day. Hallelujah. Cafe Circa is right next door. They're going to have a rooftop party all day today and tomorrow because we party all day in the A. And right across the way, on the other side of that mural, is Joystick, which is an arcade bar, and all the video games are from the 80s and 90s. 6 blocks of bars, restaurants, and nightclubs. Party. History. That is the original Ebenezer Baptist Church where Dr. King gave sermons, coming up on our right-hand side. Sorry, I'm losing my voice, I apologize. So on our right-hand side is the original Ebenezer Church. It has been a museum since 1999. You won't have time to take a tour of this museum, but they are free. However, look left real quick if you saw the first Black Panther. This is where they shoot the spaceship out of to go to Wakanda at the end of the first film. Your original church museum, the church where they hold their services, is on the other side now. So they needed a bigger church. They built this one. This is where Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s daughter, Dr. Bernice King, and Dr. Raphael Warnock are co-pastors. That is open to the public for services if you would like to attend. Otherwise, if you guys look to your right, you can see stairs and a ramp that will get you up to the second platform. And on the second platform is where Dr. King Jr. and his wife Coretta are buried side by side. Then you're going to keep walking in this direction. You're going to go past that building because on the other side of that building, on that platform, is where Freedom Hall is located. There are restrooms inside Freedom Hall, vending machines, and a bookstore is attached to that. And Glenn is moving the trolley over there, so you don't have to walk back to the trolley.